we've got another fantastic island game here. We've got Cooper Rush heading into New York to face the undefeated New York Giants. Hey, man, let's just hope this game is better than last night's game, right? How did you do last night, by the way?
I did terrible last night. If the defense ends up in another optimal, I might have to retire for the season on Showdown. It's getting kind of crazy, man. Like, I can't have defense in another optimal.
We're setting it up again for tonight, by the way, for that. But last night, Melvin Gordon captain. I believe this is the opto. I don't know if anybody had this lineup, but this is the opto. Melvin Gordon captain, Broncos defense, Brandon Ayuk, Jeff Wilson, Cortland Sutton, Deebo Samuel. Pretty straightforward lineup. I mean, Melvin Gordon was the pivot here, and he had that touchdown at the end, of course. Hey, man, that game was terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
I really hope.
The worst football I've seen in a long time.
It's just brutal, man. Russell Wilson, man. I don't know what's going on with that team. But hey, they won. They're 2-1, and I don't know how. They should be 0-3 if you really think about it. All right, so let's get into this particular game. We're going to move through this pretty quick, guys. We're going to try to get this under a 30-minute show. That's our goal. So hopefully not too many rants from Ellie or I. Dallas going into New York. The weather should be fine. By the way, I don't know, this shouldn't really affect a whole lot for this weekend, but there is that Hurricane Ian coming in close to where I'm at. That should hit on Wednesday/Thursday. I don't know if that's going to affect anything this weekend, but just keep an eye on that. So I think there's like a 20% chance of rain, like around kickoff in this game, but I would just keep an eye on that. That may not matter, but if like that previous game, what was it, the Steelers game? Yeah, it was that Steelers Browns game where the wind picked up a lot right before kickoff there. So keep an eye on that. That could change a lot of things, especially with the kickers. And we saw how much that affected those kickers. And in a game where it's 39 total, you're going to be targeting some kickers here. So keep an eye on that. This is basically a pick 'em here, and we got a 39 total. Ownership is skewed towards the Giants, probably because they have an actual starting quarterback. That's in quotations there. So what are your thoughts here on this, man? Anything jumping out to you?
Yeah, I mean, you'd think that New York would be favored a little bit more just because, they're 2-0 and Dallas is playing. They're starting a backup quarterback, but I guess Vegas and the entire world just isn't sure with New York yet. And I can't blame them. I do think that this is a game that the Giants win. I think that their team has kind of changed a little bit. There's a different energy around the Giants, and this is weird coming from me. Like, I always imagine like Eli Manning bringing the energy to the Giants, and that's a pretty low bar, right? And since then, they've even had less energy than that. But Saquon looks explosive. The team seems to believe in what is his name, Brian Dabble, their new head coach. So I really do think this is a game that we'll see the Giants win. And I think there's a very good chance that Saquon just goes off. I think that they'll cover -1 pretty easily, obviously, since I think they're winning. But I think that they can win by 6-7 points.
Yeah. Hey, do me a favor, Ellie. Push that mic a little bit farther away from you. I don't know why. It's pretty. Yeah, there you go. All right, we'll go with that. Yeah, man, this is gonna be interesting. I do think Dallas can win this game. It's just like we've always said, this is a division rivalry game. You got to kind of throw your expectations out the window as to what you think can happen, but you have to have a plan for at least a large portion of your lineups as to which way it's going to go. Let's get into injuries. This is kind of a big deal here. So obviously Dak Prescott's out. Gallup was there was some rumors of him being activated for this game. He was announced out just before we did the show. And you got Dalton Schultz, questionable. He's a true game time decision. So we're going to talk about a lot of stuff with him and without him because it's a flip of a coin. I think just based on what I'm reading, it almost seems like they're kind of leading towards maybe he's not going to play, but we just don't know. But even if he does play with a knee injury being questionable right up until kickoff, basically, how much are we going to want of him? There's some other tight ends. There's some rookie tight ends that are very cheap, $200 that we're going to want to consider. There's rumors of McKeon being brought up from the practice squad. We'll get to those guys here in a minute. James Washington's out. Wan'Dale Robinson's out. You got Kadarius Toney, doubtful. Kadarius Toney was I thought this guy was going to have an amazing year. He hasn't done shit this year. So no Kadarius Toney, potentially. I think they're leaning that way. So what jumps out to you here, man? What do we got to pay attention to?
I mean, I don't think this is shocking to anybody, but Dalton Schultz is the biggest piece. Obviously, if he plays, um, I think that's going to dampen ownership on some of the backups, which is just more intriguing to me. But if he's out, then we open up a whole bunch of $200 spots there that I'm comfortable punting with entirely if we need to. So
yeah,
that's it for me.
All right, well, let's get into this breakdown, dude. Let's just do this. All right, so we got two quarterbacks here. 9,400, Cooper Rush, 9,600. Daniel Jones, sorry, 9,400. What do we do here, man? This is always a conundrum with these lower-priced quarterbacks. I don't like. I'm not looking forward to playing these guys at captain. I probably won't have any at captain. Now, maybe a Daniel Jones captain because of his rushing upside. But I don't think I'm gonna have any captain here. But what do we do, man? Do we play it lineup by lineup? Are you setting rules to limit this to one? Are you trying to fit in two? What are you doing here?
I think I'm gonna stick with probably one quarterback for most of my builds. I'll have two in maybe 15 to 20% of my lineups just to have a little bit of that double stack exposure. But I think this is a perfect slate to start building like 4-2 lineups and 2-4 lineups. Again, like most all other slates, I guess. But because this is a 1-point game, right? Everyone's going to be building pretty balanced lineups with these 3-3. So having say Saquon and Sterling Shepard be my two giants, and then running back with Cooper Rush and a stack from the Cowboys is probably how I'm going to build for this slate. Just a couple things to point out. Daniel Jones is only being projected for around 200 total yards by the sports books. And right now the under is favored. So it does look like we're going to see a little bit more volume coming from Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush is expected to go over 221.5. So again, I think Rush is priced a little higher because he is going to be in a position where he might have to sling it to keep him in the game. So I think I'm going to be leaning a little bit more towards the rush side, but Daniel Jones is somebody we can't forget about. He does have the rushing upside you talked about, and we all remember him getting tackled in the open field by I don't know, fucking Casper
pigeon or something.
So yeah, just got sniped from the. I swear, JFK would have been proud. But anyways, like. He has that rushing upside. All he has to do is cross the goal line, and it's going to change everything. So I like Daniel Jones. And then one more thing on Cooper Rush. I don't want to spend too much time here, but don't pretend like his rushing upside isn't there either. His last name is Rush, so obviously that's good for 1.5 attempts per game. But the other side is they could be running a lot of RPOs on the Dallas side of the ball. I mean, I understand he has familiarity with the playbook, but you got two special backs in the backfield, so giving him the option to do the RPO, maybe keep it on a handoff and go around the end. He does have that rushing upside as well, and I could see him easily sneaking in for a goal line touchdown.
Yeah, last thing to talk about here is Daniel Jones last week, 3 sacks, 9 quarterback hits. He got sacked 5 times week 1, and you got a guy like Micah Parsons here with 2 sacks in each of the first 2 games. This could be a situation where Dallas Cowboys can really affect the game and really take over this game just by putting pressure on Daniel Jones and making him make bad decisions. I think Dallas defense is absolutely in play here just by bringing that up. But I don't know if I love either of these guys, but I'm definitely going to get them involved. Probably one for me. But in a low-scoring game, if you might need both quarterbacks in your lineup because they're touching the ball every single time. Let's go to running back here. So we've obviously, who do you want to start with? Giants?
Yeah.
All right, so Saquon is 11.8K. He's expensive. He's going to be the most popular player. He has the most upside. In a slate like this, getting a guy like Saquon a captain is absolutely necessary. It may be absolutely necessary, but if you've got a lot of lineups, you're going to want to get a decent amount of exposure to him at captain. Saquon, the guy, we know the guy can score you 30, 40 fantasy points, and he's like an Aaron Jones type, where if you don't have him at captain, you might be screwed. Matt Breida, 2K, I don't know if I'm going to have any Matt Breida at 2K. If he was like $400, maybe, but you're looking at Barkley getting 84% of the snaps. He's gotten 11 targets, 9 receptions. So okay in the pass game, but he's gotten 39 rushes for 236 yards. Only 1 touchdown so far. But look, you got to go heavy on Saquon in this game. I mean, there's no game script to me where I'm not going to have a ton of Saquon.
Yeah, man, I agree with you entirely. And then just to kind of put his target rate into perspective, Saquon is getting 21% of the team's targets. So it goes wide receiver 1, Richie James, and then Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
And we know what Saquon did is his rookie year. He catches those screen passes, he will go up the field. He is one of the most explosive players on the field. He is fast as hell. And he can easily turn anything into a touchdown. But I mean, look, last week against Tennessee, 7 targets. That's wild. Now, I expect him to be closer to 4, maybe 5. But again, if he's converting 3 to 5 receptions on a 39-point total, he could easily be the optimal captain and just in all optimal lineups. I probably won't fade him at all unless it's for a very specific game build. And then I'm not going to get any exposure to Matt Breida. He does get involved in the running game, but doesn't really get involved in the passing game. And at 2K, I just think there's better options that you'll at least get the PPR points for.
Even if this game turns out to be mostly a stinker, and let's just say Cowboys are winning most of the time, Saquon will still get you there. And especially with garbage time receptions, you get another 4 receptions out of him in like the fourth quarter or something for garbage time. I mean, that could make a huge difference. Don't forget about stuff like that when you're looking at this game.
And one last thing on Breida too. If you think that Saquon can get hurt because he does have injury problems, then absolutely throw a random bullet with Breida in there and fade Saquon. But that's about it.
Yeah, agreed. All right, so let's go over to the Cowboys. Zeke Elliott, 8,400. Tony Pollard, 8,200. Zeke is getting, so far this year, he's getting 67% of the snaps to Pollard's 39%. That seems like a pretty big difference to me. I know Pollard scored last week. I know he gets more involved in the pass game. But to me, Zeke Elliott is the guy with the upside. Tony Pollard at 8,200, you're going to need a lot out of him to get you there. I know this is a lower scoring game potentially, so it might not matter. But if this game happens to be like, if both teams score three or 4 touchdowns, you're going to need a lot out of Tony Pollard at 8,200. Don't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the way that we need to attack the Dallas side of the ball is, do you think both Zeke and Pollard are going to score a touchdown? One of them probably will. And you're going to need that guy on a 39 total. So if you think it's going to be Tony Pollard, then you should probably be getting heavier exposure to him. If you think Zeke's going to be the guy who gets that touchdown, then you might want to go with a little bit heavier exposure to him. But again, like, this isn't a scenario where I would necessarily handcuff. I know we talk about doing that a lot.
I agree
especially with a low total. I'm not handcuffing. Normally, I'm cool with doing it with Zeke and Pollard, but their pricing is starting to adjust, and I don't think that the total volume is going to be there. They're combined expected to rush for about 100 yards, so that's really not that viable to me.
Yeah, I don't like putting them in the same lineup together. I mean, typically I would, but for whatever reason, maybe just pricing, maybe just matchup, it's not something I'm looking forward to. Let's go to wide receiver. CeeDee Lamb, 10.2K. Noah Brown, 6,800. Jalen Tolbert will be active for this game. Looks like they dropped Houston had 34% of the targets, 34% of snaps, 6 targets, 2 receptions. He's gone. Tolbert has been activated. He's their rookie this year, who a lot of people were high on. You got Simi Fehoko at 2,400 and Turpin at 600. I think there's 3 guys you got to focus on here. 2 mainly, obviously, CeeDee Lamb. Noah Brown's one of my favorite plays, especially if Schultz is out. I mean, Noah Brown has been doing well. And look, him and Cooper Rush have a connection. CeeDee Lamb is going to get his most likely, but at 10.2K, it's going to be you're going to need like a ceiling output from him. You're going to need 9 receptions, 100 yards, and touchdown, something like that. But Noah Brown, 6,800, man, he's been looking pretty good, man. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, so let's put it in a little bit into perspective. So CD is he's sitting at about 60 and a half total yards expected for tonight, and around five and a half receptions. So that's even lower than what we generally see from. I mean, 11 targets. I mean, that's crazy. 11 targets week one with 2 receptions. That was CD.
Yeah. Yep, that was 2 receptions week 1, 29 yards.
That's wild. Look, I mean, we know he's going to get a lot of the work because, I mean, he's the number one wide receiver. We see it week to week. He's getting 30% of the targets, whatever it is. But he's got to convert those, and I don't know that he's going to be able to. And kind of just basing off of what Vegas has his line set at, I don't necessarily think that he's going to pay off 10-2. Now, one way to hedge against that would be to throw him into the captain spot in a couple lineups, so that again, like Mike Williams, right? If he does have one of those big games where he hits his price tag and then some, then you're solid. But if you're fading him and he has a mid performance, then you're fine. Again, I think. I don't know. It depends on your stacks. If you're running a 4 stack and you got Cooper Rush back there, then you might want to grab CD. I just like Noah Brown so much better, man. He's projected for similar output, half the price almost, and he's looking good. There's a spot to fill, and he has the potential of being on this roster long term. Like this is more than him just playing wide receiver 2. This is him determining if he's going to be a part of the Dallas Cowboys for the next year to 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, agreed. Noah Brown 6,800 is really appealing. You're looking at a guy at 85% of the snaps for the first 2 games, 14 targets, 10 receptions, and a touchdown. So that's a really good price for him. A guy I want to talk about too is Jalen Tolbert. That first game we did against the Bucks, I was like, fade, don't touch this guy, because I think he was in the 5K range or something. Let's actually look. He wasn't even. He hasn't been active, so we didn't have these prices locked in. I can't look at him, but 1K for him. They released a guy to bring him up. He's clearly ready to play. They need him, especially if Dalton Schultz is out. You got to look at Tolbert at 1K. In fact, I might even like Tolbert at 1K over some of these $200 backup tight ends. So don't, just because he's been inactive, he's still a high draft pick for them, and they want to get him involved. Any interest in Tolbert, and what about these other guys like Turpin, who gets involved in the return game and some gadget plays?
Yeah, look, I don't mind getting sprinkling and some exposure to Turpin. I think Jalen Tolbert's kind of the guy that I'll be focusing on as well. At 1K, and his projected ownership, I think that he's kind of just a fine punt if that's all he is, right? He is going to have a little bit of upside, potential to grab a pass or 2, but at 1K and sub 5% ownership, punting with him is 100% viable.
Yeah, absolutely.
No semi for me though.
Yeah, I don't think Semi is just not getting on the field enough. I think he's got 10% of the snaps and only 3 targets this year. Turpin, there's other better options. I'd rather just pay up $400 and get Tolbert. Let's go to the Giants here. This is an interesting situation. Sterling Shepard at 7,600, clearly the number 1 guy here. 88% of the snaps, 14 targets, 8 receptions, and a touchdown this year. You got Richie James, who has, he's gotten 55% of the snaps. He hasn't been in as much, but when he's in, he's getting usage. He's got 12 targets, 10 receptions. David Sills is a guy who's played 1 game. He's at 91% of the snaps in that 1 game. He's 5K. And look, a guy like Kenny Golladay, which I think we'll talk about a little bit more here, I'm not touching him. There's trade rumors. He's not happy. I believe last week he cleaned out his locker. I mean, shit, he might not even be active. I don't know. I don't know what to think here. If you're looking to trade a guy, do you want to put him out there and risk injury, or do you want to advertise? I don't know. And then you got Darius Slayton buried in the depth chart here at $200. We know what he's capable of, but will even see the field. So talk to me here, man. There's a lot of options.
Yeah, man. At 7,600, Sterling Shepard is kind of the guy that I'll be targeting and prioritizing here. He has that big play upside. I think he's even a viable captain play because he has that big play upside. He's another one of these receivers who tends to be hot and cold. But at his price tag, I think you're fine playing him in the flex and stacking him with Daniel Jones, or even just running him naked with no quarterback and just going him and Saquon. So I'll have a pretty decent exposure to Sterling Shepard. The other guy again that I'm really interested in is Richie James. Yeah, he's only getting about 55% of the snaps, but when he's out there, he's getting targets. 6 targets per game is pretty solid considering. I mean, this dude was on the Niners last year, right? Like he just new to the team, and he's out snapping Kenny Golladay and Darius Slayton. Like we know who those two wide receivers are. So he's a viable play to me. Now, I think the one guy that's really interesting for larger field tournaments is going to be David Sills. I mean, they're about the same price. You get the $400 savings. He's on the field a lot. He's not quite getting the same work that Richie James is. But, as a direct pivot off of Richie James, if we see ownership creep up a little bit for him, I think he's fine. You're probably going to get 10% or less ownership on this guy. So if he has one of those games, he's going to end up in the optimal. I don't mind getting a little bit of exposure. But I think you're dead on with Golladay and Slayton. I think both guys are just 100% out of the rotation for me. So I'm not too high on either one of those dudes.
Yeah, I mean Slayton is I'm interested, but I have to be cautious because there's a lot of other value that's going to be on the field a lot more. We don't even know if we'll even see Slayton on the field. Here's this tweet here, basically saying that they're trying to shop Kenny Golladay as we speak. So take that for what it is. Will he see the field? Will he be inactive? I have no clue. But either way, I'm not interested in him at 6,200. I'll just pay up or pay down to get Richie James or David Sills at this point. Do you agree with that?
100%.
All right, so let's go to tight ends for the Giants. This is what we've been waiting to talk about here. So, Tanner Hudson. This is interesting, but on both sides of the field. Tanner Hudson's $1,600. Daniel Bellinger, he got his first reception, which was a touchdown, I believe, last week. He's at 4,400. Chris Myarick at 1,200. So Tanner Hudson, if we look at the snaps here, Bellinger is getting 58% of the snaps. He's got 1 target for a touchdown. Hudson, 37% of the snaps, but he's got 3 targets, 2 receptions, no touchdowns. And Myarick, 32%, he's got 1 target and a touchdown. So any of these guys can score. Do you want to try to prioritize a guy like Tanner Hudson who's way cheaper than Bellinger, or where are you going here? Are you even interested in these guys?
So I'm not interested in these guys at all. Currently on the year, this position as a whole for the Giants has an 8% total target rate. So to put that into perspective, Saquon Barkley himself nearly has 3 times the amount of targets than this entire positional group. So And even if you don't take all that into account, on the other side of the ball, you just had 2 great options. You have the tight end position for Dallas, and then you have $1,000 Jalen Tolbert.
Yeah.
If I'm going to pay $1,600, I think I'd just pay down to $1,000 and grab Tolbert, in my opinion. And $4,400 for a kicker is you're out of your goddamn mind.
Yeah,
or not a kicker.
Well, pretty close to that. But these guys, one of them is going to score though. Of course, because everybody's looking at Dallas' side of the ball here with their tight end situation. Myarick is gonna score a touchdown in this game. So I might just, because of FOMO, I might just put him a couple percentages of each of these guys in my lineups. Let's go over to Dallas because this is what we all really want to talk about here. Dalton Schultz, questionable. He's a true game time decision. He's 6,400. If he plays, I don't know how interested I'm going to be in him because he's clearly hurt. I don't know how effective he can be. And they're going to want to save this guy. They're not going to want to absolutely lay it all on the field in week 3. So don't you think that
with their starting quarterback gone?
With their starting quarterback gone, to me, Dalton Schultz is interesting, but I'm not going to play too much of him. I might actually cross him out and just start building without him, just because. You got Jake. So here's the 3 other guys. Let's say Dalton Schultz is out, and even if he does play, I'm still interested in these other guys. But you have Jake Ferguson, who was a 4th-round draft pick this year. He's a rookie. They're looking to. He will probably be the guy that gets the most snaps if Schultz is out. He's $200. Peyton Hendershot, also a rookie. He is considered to be one of the best route runners for out of all these tight ends. So you're looking at a situation where Ferguson probably gets more of the snaps, but Henderson can be a guy that gets targets in the red zone or targets throughout the field. McKeon will be brought up from the practice squad, most likely. I don't know. Even if Schultz is active, they might still bring him up. So you got 3 guys here at $200. You just got to get these guys in your lineups because they're going to see volume and they're going to see snaps.
Yeah, man. So I think there's one thing that we need to be mindful of, right? Obviously, when we find out who's active for the tight end position here, we'll need to make a decision. But if Sean McKeon is active, he was on the team last year. He does have a little bit of work with Cooper Rush before. They practiced before. So I do see him getting on the field. And then there's a key thing that you called out with the other two is they're rookies. So they could have issues with pass pro, right? Or even run protection. So if that's the case, they're going to limit their touches. Remember, was Tyron Smith still out? Like, is Dallas still having issues with some of their offensive line? Because if they start missing blocks, that could be something that gets Sean McKeon a few more snaps on the field or a few more opportunities because he's a better blocker overall, or at least he has a better understanding of where he's supposed to be in pass and run protection.
Yeah.
So I know that's a long time to spend on $200 guys, but if you're going through and trying to choose, make sure that you're paying attention to the game script that you're building for. If you think that McKeon is needed because protection, then I think that he's a great play. Otherwise, I'm just going to have equal exposure and just jam in as many of these guys as I can.
It's a straight up dart toss. Yeah, it's a straight up dart toss. I'm not putting 2 of these guys in my lineups. I mean, I guess if you wanted to get crazy in a Millie Maker, you could do something like that. If Schultz is out, obviously very, very interested in all 3 of these guys, more specifically Ferguson and Hendershot with a little bit of McKeon. If Dalton Schultz is in, I'm still slightly interested in Ferguson and Hendershot, just not nearly as much, obviously. All right, so
and I have one more thing on tight ends real quick. If you're unsure about Dalton Schultz and you just want to hedge, he plays, do a captain lineup with him. He ends up with 2 touchdowns and 40 yards, then he'll be optimal. But I don't think you need to, and I don't think he's playing.
If you want to get a little bit of a head start too, just check out warm-ups. See what they're doing before hour and a half before the game is when they're going to come out with inactives. Be on Twitter if you're trying to get a little bit of a heads up and see what people are saying about how he's looking out there when he's warming up, because that's literally what they're using to determine if he plays or not. Kickers and defense: Graham Gano 4K, Brett Maher 4,200, 39 total. We got to talk about kickers, unfortunately. You just got to be with the field, right? Get about 20% of each of them, or how are you going to go risky and just say no, I'm not doing kickers?
I mean, I don't think you need to play 2, but I'm going to have probably 1 kicker in a lot of my lineups. The issue is it could get chalky, but this is a slate where there's probably not going to be too many different variations on your build. So one of these guys will likely be in it.
So defense, Giants at 3,800, Cowboys 4,600. They're all right in this range, right? And I'm interested in the Cowboys. I think they have a higher upside, but you got Cooper Rush, who, Cooper Rush can make mistakes. He's not Tom Brady over here. I know that Jerry Jones wants to treat him like Tony Romo, but you're looking at a career backup quarterback who can make mistakes. Both of these defenses are in play. I think they're both going to be pretty popular. I would recommend not playing defense at captain. Just the amount of times that defenses are the optimal captain is so low. You could hit a lottery ticket with it. Who knows? But overall, it's probably not the best idea, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, last night it took a lot for the Broncos to be in the optimal still. Like, they had to get a bunch of takeaways and a bunch of sacks, and that was still only giving up 10 points. So
yeah,
your defense has to be right on. But I am kind of interested in the Giants defense at 3,800 in the flex. Again, they are playing Cooper Rush. One turnover turns into a touchdown, then that's it. And same with the Cowboys, right? They're a high risk, high reward defense. They might give up a bomb, but Trevon Diggs could easily take one back.
Yep. All right, let's get to our Crown Their Ass. This is our favorite captain option for tournaments on DraftKings.
Yeah. If you want to crown them, then crown their ass.
Ellie, you're going Saquon. I tend to agree with you. I'm going to have a lot of Saquon as well. Probably be my highest owned captain. That's not a surprise. I think everybody will. He's probably going to be double the next highest owned captain. For me, Noah Brown is going to be he's going to be like fifth or sixth highest owned captain, and he still has the high upside. And you could with his price, you could fit Saquon. You could fit a couple quarterbacks in there. You don't have to worry about only playing these low end guys. So thoughts on Brown? Are you going to have any of him? I mean, you know how I feel about Saquon, but what are your thoughts on Brown?
Yeah, I'll probably have a couple of him at captain. I think that he's a solid play. And nobody's going to be playing him.
All right, so for our fades here,
we couldn't do diddly poo.
I'm gonna fade Galladay. I mean, I know he has a high upside. He's not really fitting in on this team. I don't know what his situation is. I don't know if they're gonna trade him or not. I don't know if he's gonna even be at the freaking game today. Who knows? So for me, I'm just not feeling that, and I don't think anybody else is feeling it either. So this isn't some bold take or anything like that. And Ellie, you're gonna fade Schultz just right off the bat, right?
Yeah, I'm just not going to worry about him playing. Knee injury for a tight end is, I don't know, for anybody. Like, I would suck with a knee injury. I wouldn't be able to get up my stairs. Like, how the hell are you going to play football? So, I don't know, man.
All right, let's get to our lineup build. Throw us a like, guys. We appreciate it. We didn't do a show for last night's game. I think that's how we're going to continue to do it. We're probably going to do TikTok only for Sunday night games, just because of how difficult it is to get a show in and also be able to watch football on Sunday. It's not easy. So we're probably going to go that route, or maybe down the road we'll do a show just for some subscribers, or just for our Discord or something like that. So obviously join the Discord. There's a link down below. It's free. We're just hanging out talking football, and obviously as we get closer to lock in a lot of these games, we're right there. We're giving our exposures. We're talking about what we're doing, and also we want to hear from you guys too. So join that and throw us a like and a subscribe here. We appreciate it. So Barkley captain, this is the optimal. Barkley captain, Graham Gano, Giants defense, Richie James, Cooper Rush, and Daniel Jones. So both quarterbacks, a kicker, a defense, Richie James, and then you got Saquon at captain. This is the type of lineup that's going to be very popular tonight.
I don't like it. A 5-1 is kind of crazy on a 1 point spread.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, agreed. So let's do a little bit. Let's build a Saquon lineup that we like, that obviously will fit our game scripts, but obviously we don't want to. If we were to win and we hit that lottery ticket finally after however long it takes to get that first place, and you got to split it with 1,000 people, you're going to be pissed. It's not even worth doing. So let's get Barkley in, and let's be different in the flex, whether that be with a $200 guy or a different roster construction. So where you want to go here? Do you want to do like a Giants stack here, or do you want to do like a 2-4 with run back with a Cowboys stack?
Yep, 2-4 with the Cowboys run back. I want to start with Saquon, and let's do Sterling Shepard just right out the gate.
All right, Shepard. Let's get Cooper Rush, right, if we're going to go a Dallas attack.
And then let's throw in Tolbert. I think we just start there and kind of see where we're at.
All right. So we got plenty left. So if we wanted to get CeeDee Lamb, we could get CeeDee Lamb here. You want to do that?
Sure.
That leaves us with 3,900. Now, DraftKings is smart. They priced up these kickers, so we can't get a kicker in this spot, but we can get a guy, or we can get a Giants defense here. I know we were talking about doing a 2-4. So in that case, if we wanted to get that fourth Cowboy in, where are we going here? We got 3,900. We're going to have to pay down a little bit.
So instead of CD, let's throw in Zeke and see where that puts us.
Okay. Zeke, 5,700. Tons of options here. You got Richie James. You've got David Sills, or you have Cowboys defense. This could be interesting here. Barkley at captain with Cowboys defense and the flex, not bad. If you wanted to be a little bit safer, you could end up doing something like this. Richie James, Shepard, and Barkley, but now you're missing Daniel Jones. And
so I kind of like this. Can you pull out Shepard and leave in Richie James?
Yeah.
And I think that, go to Noah Brown.
Oh yeah, there you go. Does that get us there? It does. 6,800 with
We're
some.
leaving about 1,100 on the table, but I'm fine with that.
Yeah, so this isn't bad. So you got Saquon Barkley, who can get you there without receiving touchdowns. You got Richie James, who's going to get tons of targets and a decent amount of receptions, PPR. So you don't necessarily need Daniel Jones in this situation. So I think this correlates out pretty well. I'm going to save this lineup. You want to do another one with Barkley, or do you want to try like a Giants onslaught?
Yeah, let's do a Giants onslaught.
All right. So in that case, we're going to want to put in Danny Dimes. We're going to want to put in probably Sterling Shepard, correct?
Yeah, let's go Sterling Shepard.
Do you want to do?
And then
where do you want to go from here?
let's throw in well, you know what? Let's actually do the other side of the ball. Let's go with who's their kicker? Brett Maher for Dallas.
Yeah.
Let's put him in.
Okay.
And then let's throw in the Giants defense and see where we're at for another Dallas player.
Okay, Giants defense. That leaves us with 7,300. Decent amount of options here. You got Noah Brown. Yeah, or Dalton Schultz. You know, if you're going down that Dalton Schultz route, you can do that. But you got Noah Brown. So these are pretty balanced lineups here. You notice we're not really punting too much. You got all guys that you want to play here. All high output players like Shepard and Noah Brown. Do we want to do one where we go like stars and scrubs with Barkley at captain, like and play one of these $200 tight ends?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's see if we can get both quarterbacks in this build.
All right, both quarterbacks. Let's go. Do you want to do like CD and Sterling? No, we can't do that. So we can do one or the other.
It's got to be CD, Tolbert, and then who's about a 2,900 guy that we play.
Well, let's pop in. Let's pop in our tight end here. Let's go with let's go with Hendershot, or let's just go Ferguson for being safe. But any of these guys will fit. So that leaves us with 2,900. So where does that get us? That gets us Brightwell. Don't want him. Fahoko, Breda, Tanner Hudson. This doesn't really work out too well for me. So I think we kill one of these quarterbacks. Don't you think?
Yeah. Who do you want to take out? If we're trying to play one of the backups, let's pull Daniel Jones.
Yeah, we could do that. It could go either way. I mean, they're priced so similarly. It could go either way. But for this, let's pull out Danny Dimes. So that allows us to probably want to get a guy like Noah Brown in here as well, right? And then let's see where we're at.
Yeah, well, throw Ferguson in.
All right, let's get Ferguson. Let's see where we're at here. That leaves us. This is right now. We're probably going to want to get a Giants player here, but 5,500. That gets us Richie James. It gets us David Sills.
Yeah, and
So
if you're
that's
crazy,
nice.
Cowboys defense.
Yeah, or Cowboys defense if you're looking at. I mean, this is a fun, interesting lineup. You got Barkley and then nobody else, and I don't see that's a bad thing. To be honest, I think that it could work out. But I probably do something like a Richie James here or David Sills. Yeah. So these are the kind of lineups that you're going to want to be building with Barkley. You're not just going to want to throw in both quarterbacks, a kicker, and a defense, and call it a day. You're just going to have too many dupes. So let's do one with Noah Brown here and see if it's even worth it. See if we needed to go this low. For a guy that doesn't have nearly the ceiling as CD or Saquon, see if it's worth it. So in this case, do we need to put Cooper Rush in here? Do you want to go both quarterbacks since we're paying down at captain?
Yeah, let's go both quarterbacks and just see where we're at. Throw in Saquon.
Saquon will always be. I think I'm gonna have like 99% Saquon, both in captain and flex. It's just gonna happen. So we have 9K. So we could do one of these $200 guys. We can do a Tolbert at 1,000, and that really gets us a lot of other options. Where do you want to go here?
Let's throw in either Zeke or Tony Pollard here and see what we have left.
Let's throw in Pollard.
Okay, we haven't built with him yet, so that's
yeah.
good.
And they're both around the same price, so dealer's choice. $800. So that gets us, it's fine. That gets us
Rotate your $200 guys.
Ferguson, that gets us Hendershot. That gets us McKeon, whichever one you want. Not terrible. I'm going to save this lineup. I'm going to put Ferguson in, save that. I think it's worth going down to Noah Brown. I mean, you've got 2 quarterbacks and 2 studs in the flex, and you just have to punt once. And potentially your punt could come from a starting tight end. So it's not that bad of a punt. It's not like you're using like a 4th string wide receiver or anything. Let's do a little bit different. Let's kill one of these quarterbacks here. Do you want to do let's kill Rush and let's kill Pollard. Let's go the other way. Let's do like a Giants passing onslaught 2-4 here. And let's probably put Zeke in if we're fading Cooper Rush in the pass game maybe. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I like Zeke.
So let's get Sterling Shepard. You could do Zeke, and that leaves you with 2,600. So where does that get us? That gets us Breida. That gets us Tanner Hudson, Myarick. So we're down in this tight end range, or you can go all the way down to Tolbert. But I think what we want to do is probably something like this, like a Hudson maybe. I know you weren't super interested in him. Or we could do 3-3 here and just go with our Ferguson / Hendershot. What do you think?
I don't know, man. Like, I think you can kind of rotate those pieces in. What happens if we go from Zeke to Tony Pollard? Does that give us? I don't think that gives us enough money to go up to anything, right?
You might be able to. I don't think so. Hang on, let me check. That gets you 2,800. I don't think so. It gets you Gary Brightwell, which he's not even going to be in my player pool probably. So it doesn't do much for you. Let me just hit Opto and see what it wants us to do here. Both defenses, Danny Dimes, CeeDee Lamb, and Barkley with Noah Brown at captain. I'm not going to play 2 defenses. I mean, it's fun to be tied for first place when the slate locks, but I'm not into playing both defenses tonight. I don't know. That's just me.
That's a really weird build.
I kind of like this core here. Do you want to make any adjustments here? Do you want to go punt and then see where we're at from there?
How about this? Like, we haven't done any Sills yet. Let's try throwing in David Sills. That puts us at what, 3,400, around that range. That's still not
34.
We still can't get anything.
Still can't get anything, man. It's a big drop off from defense and kickers. It goes basically all the way down to $200 guys, or $1,000 guy Tolbert. So there's just not a lot. There's not a lot of options there. You could do something like this. You could pull out Lamb. You could go with Sterling Shepard here. Pull out Sills. This gives us a little bit more flexibility. Let's put in Ferguson. This is setting up to either a 3-3 or a 2-4. What do we got here? 10.8K. We can get anybody we want except for Saquon, which we already have. So you could put CeeDee Lamb in here. I don't know. What do you think about this? Is this too weird of a lineup? You got 3 pass catchers with no quarterback? I don't know.
I don't necessarily think this is too weird of a lineup, right? If we look at Ferguson from a pure punt play, it may not be that big of a deal. 2 receptions for 30 yards isn't going to need a quarterback, but
yeah,
CeeDee Lamb is the same thing. If he has 11 receptions for 100 yards, you may not need the quarterback. And Noah Brown, 2 touchdowns and 100 yards. It's fine. And here's the thing, right? You can swap right back if you want to swap Daniel Jones directly out for Cooper Rush. You can, but the thing is like this is why strategy is so important when you're building, because we're being forced to essentially play the correlation play, which would be Cooper Rush. Yeah. So that lineup with Noah Brown is going to be a chalkier build. Having Daniel Jones in there might be different enough just to stay off the chalky builds with Brown at captain.
Yeah, agreed, man. And you could also put Cooper Rush in instead of CeeDee Lamb if you wanted to cover your bases more. I don't know, man. This is a division game, so anything can happen. I think this could be a good game, but I really wish the NFL would figure out ways to flex these games a little bit easier. I know there's a lot that goes behind it with scheduling, and changing a game from Monday to Sunday is probably very difficult. But the second that Dak goes down, I mean, you gotta flex. You gotta change this game if you're ESPN, if you're the NFL. I mean, right? Can we figure that out? Like these island games have not been good,
bro. And like, I mean, if my boss can tell me that I have to work at midnight tomorrow, just out of the blue, like these dudes making $20 million, they can change their schedule around. It might suck for the fans being able to, missing out on a game they thought was supposed to be Monday night, but like, there's a lot of ad revenue tied up into this, and I'm not watching that game again last night. Like, that was garbage.
Oh, that was terrible, man. All right, guys, let us know down below in the comments who your favorite captain is, some of your favorite builds. Join the Discord, hit us up there, and we will see you for Thursday Night Football.